Hi, and welcome to the November 2023 Nanaimo Real Estate Market Review. I put out this video every month and I look at the October stats provided by the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board specific to Nanaimo. We're going to talk about the supply side, the demand side, and then we're going to talk about impact. So if you're a homeowner and you're not sure about what your next move is, I'll talk about how this data might impact some of those decisions. If you're thinking about getting into the market, maybe you're not already in it, I'll also speak to the impact that some of these numbers might have on that. Starting on the supply side, let's talk about the units listed to date. Okay, month over month, we're down about 19%. 12 months to date, we're down 21%. So as you're hearing, we have seen a decrease in inventory compared to last year. Active listings right now sit at 306. This time last year, they were at 341. That's an 11% decrease. So inventory has remained low, and this has really kept the downward pressure on pricing. On condos, it's pretty similar. We're down about 9% in terms of the units listed 12 months to date. Active listings, however, are starting to rise on the condo front. They're up 15% compared to this time last year. I think some of what you're seeing there is there's been these recent threats of rule changes specific to Airbnbs. And perhaps some of those owners that were maybe Airbnbing or had hopes to Airbnb are moving to market ahead of what they might forecast to be an increase in those units coming to market. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll report back here. Now, the really interesting trend that I noticed in these stats is around land. Okay, in terms of the supply side, 12 months to date, we're up 12%, which is a more relevant metric. I like the 12-month rolling average as opposed to the month over month. Looking at the month over month for land, this month compared to last month, or October 2022 compared to October 2023, land supply, active land listings is up 141%. Active listings as of the end of October is up 44% in land. I'll touch on that a little bit later in this report, but those are some pretty significant numbers. Okay, let's talk about the demand side. So we know that there's a throttled supply right now as homeowners kind of batten down the hatches. They're not really in a hurry to renew. They just want to kind of stay put while they wait and see what happens. On the demand side, we're seeing a similar situation. We know that money's expensive right now, certainly a lot more expensive than it has been over the last 5 years. So to that end, we've seen unit sales month over month is down about 7%. 12 months to date, it's down 14%. If we look at total dollar volume, we're down 22% 12 months to date. Condos, similarly down about 22%. Townhomes are only down about 9%. Now, what's happening there? I think what you're seeing is really the birth of the townhouse market here in Nanaimo. Townhouses have never been a huge market category here, and that's because the gap between a townhouse and a single family home here in Nanaimo wasn't substantial enough so people would push for the townhome. But as that gap has widened with the average sale price pushing into the 800s, even touching into the 900s, the gap between a townhouse and a single family home is substantial. So a lot of people that are first-time home buyers are looking at townhouses because really that's what a dual income household here in Nanaimo can afford. So I think you're going to continue to see that, as we've seen in other more mature markets in the Lower Mainland. Let's talk about land here for a second on the demand side. 12 months to date, land sales are down 72%. That's a pretty substantial number. And let me explain what I think is happening there. Leading up to about a year ago, builders, developers, they can see that prices are rising. They can see that absorption rates are positive. So they're buying up land in the hopes that they can keep their crews busy, keep the supply going, keep building homes because that's how they make money. What's happened in the last year is we've seen a reduction in the demand. We've seen an increase in borrowing costs, and we've seen a plateau, in fact, a slight downward pressure to the tune of about 10% in single family homes on prices. Supply and labor really hasn't seen any relief. So we've got upward pressure on lending costs, downward pressure on pricings, and land was selling at a premium. So the only place to give is on developer profit. And so a lot of developers that have projects that are either almost ready to shovel ready, or we're in the design and planning stages, have decided to hold back or list their land. And that's where we're seeing that big increase in supply and the dramatic decrease in land sales. So what impact is that having? What are things selling for? Are they selling for more? Are they selling for less? Average single family home prices are down about 10% year to date. That's been a consistent figure for the last 4 months. Don't let anyone confuse you. There is a stat here that came out that if you're just looking at the month over month stats, they'd confuse you to think that single family home prices are up 6.79%. Okay. I don't believe that's a statistically significant representative sample of what's actually going on. There really is no upward pressure on pricing right now. The downward pressure has been absolutely mitigated by the low supply, but there's really no professional that I'm in contact with that thinks we're going to start to see rising home prices. At the point that we see interest rate relief, substantial interest rate relief, then I think at that point you'll start to see prices increase right away. But right now, that's just not in the forecast. Okay, average condo sale prices are down 6%. Townhome sale prices are down about 4%. We talked about that. Land average sale price down 40%. So I think that supports the theory around developers just pulling back a little bit on the development side. And obviously, in terms of addressing our affordable housing, addressing our low supply, we want to see those developers get those shovels in the ground and start building property. But until we see some relief on the interest rate side, until we see some relief on perhaps the labor and supply side, I don't think you're going to see a lot of developments moving to market. They're really trying to figure out the timing. When do we think we're going to start to see that increase in sale prices? And if you think of many projects can take 1 to 3 years from the time they start to the time they're going to market and having to fund on those. That's the magic for the developers, is to figure out when do we need to start our project so that we're going to market right at the time that things start to improve. I don't have a crystal ball, but that's anybody's guess. But for the sake of our supply side, I hope that we do get some relief there and we can start to see some more properties get built here on Vancouver Island. Now, if I'm a seller right now, what am I thinking? Do I need to sell right away? Are things going to get a lot worse before they get better? My crystal ball's, not as accurate as I wish it would be, but I'll take a stab at it anyway. If I was a seller right now and I knew I wanted to sell within the next 12 months, I would be moving to market sooner than later. If I was a homeowner that was really good with anything from 1 to 3 years, then I might hold tight. A lot of people are suggesting that we'll start to see interest rate relief by the end of 2024, 2025. I think that's a probably pretty reasonable guess. I'm sort of in the mid 2025 range if I had to place my bet. Okay, if I'm a buyer right now and I'm sitting on the sidelines and I'm waiting for a dramatic drop in prices, there's nothing right now in this data to suggest that there's a dramatic price drop coming. Well, there's nothing in here to say there's a dramatic price increase coming. So when I see that values are going to be hold, which I actually think that's the most optimistic outlook right now, is that prices hold, and that price hold could last 1 to 5 years. So if I'm a buyer in that market, what do I want to do? I want to get really clear on what my goals are. I want to start looking at a lot of products so I have a clear idea of what separates a $600,000 home from a $700,000 home, what separates $1 million home from a $1.3 million home. Get really discerning about what I want so that I know when a good value opportunity comes on the market, I can jump on it. So if you are thinking about getting into the market, if you're trying to figure out how to navigate this market as a homeowner, I do consultations of this nature all the time. I've been at this 16 years. I do all my consultations in person. So if you want to meet with me and make a plan, it doesn't matter to me whether you've got a plan to do something in the next 6 months or whether you plan to do something in the next 6 years. It's never too early to get organized and fill in the blanks on that plan. And I think I can be of real value to you. My goal is not to try to talk you into a listing contract or force you to buy the first 6 houses I show you. My goal is to have you make good decisions in this really important move for you and your family. And at the end of it, look back and say, I'm glad I had him in my corner. So I'm John Cooper with the John Cooper Real Estate Group, eXp Realty, and I'll talk to you soon.